Well, the finals race is heating up in the AFL. With only 6 rounds to go, there are 6 teams in contention for 2 final spots. Maybe 7 if Carlton get themselves on a run late. But realistically, there are 6 teams fighting for the last 2 final spots. I'm Kevin, and today in this video, I'll be going through which teams are most likely to fill up the last 2 spots in the AFL Finals Series. The case for Essendon, they play 4 straight games at Marvel Stadium in the next 4 rounds, where they've won 4 out of the 5 games they've played this year, including against Sydney, who is a pretty hard team to beat, but they have a pretty good home record against, as of recent, having beaten them at the venue in both 2018 and 19. They also beat him at the SCG in 2020. So they've got some pretty good form against the Swans. Also, they've got Collingwood, Gold Coast, and North Melbourne to play, and would start favourites in all 3 of those, as well as their game against the Giants, who are competing with them for a final spot. Given it's at Marvel, I think it's going to be Essendon taking the win there, and they would keep GWS at bay. Their hardest game will be against the Western Bulldogs, where the Dogs usually have a feast day against them, so that's probably, you can write that one off. The biggest disadvantage for Essendon is the fact that they start on 28 points, which is 4 points less than Freo, West Coast, and St Kilda, and 2 points less than GWS. So they're going to have to win an extra game compared to their rivals, but they've got a decent percentage at the moment, and they come in with pretty good form, so to speak. Essendon are well positioned to make a finals push. The case for Freo. Well, let's just say if Freo make finals, they thoroughly and utterly deserved it, given they probably have the hardest path out of the 6 teams to make the top 8. Just about the only advantage they've got is the fact that they're on 32 points at the moment and start round 18 in 7th spot. And their percentage is at least better compared to West Coast and St Kilda, also on 32 points. Other than that, well, there's not much else you could say that's positive for Freo. They have to play Geelong. They have to play Sydney away from home. Now, one positive, it's not at the SCG. But Freo's record in Melbourne hasn't been that good either. So it's not exactly that great of a bonus either. And then they've got Richmond, who's competing for a spot. Brisbane, oh god, that's not going to be good. West Coast and St Kilda, who are also competing. Now, there are a couple positives, so to speak, okay? If Fremantle if Freo are good enough, okay? They have 4 games at Optus Stadium, including their games against Geelong and Brisbane, which are their 2 hardest opponents. Plus, they've also got games against Richmond, St Kilda, and West Coast, 8-pointer games here. And if they win all of those games, they can not only cement themselves in the top 8, but eliminate other opponents, or potentially hamper their cases for the 8. So Fremantle, they've got a lot of 8-pointers, lots of opportunity, but at the same time, they've got to work hard to make the finals. The case for GWS. Okay, I'm going to correct myself here. GWS have the hardest path for any team competing for those 2 spots. Okay, they have to play 3 top 6 teams. Okay, Sydney, Port Adelaide, and Geelong. Okay, then they also play Essendon and Richmond. Those are the 8-pointer games, which will probably determine whether GWS make the finals or miss them. And they also play Carlton, who's probably the best out of the bottom 6 teams. So even that's not a guaranteed victory, given it's away from home. Oh, sorry, wait. All of GWS's games are away from home. Away from their top 2 homes. Obviously, Sydney showgrounds they can't play because of coronavirus in Sydney. But Monica Oval in the ACT. The Victorian government didn't allow the players to go to the ACT. What, are you seriously, Dan Andrews? Okay, I know you're under pressure, but come on. There is no cases in the ACT. Why can't GWS play in the ACT? Why can't the Canberra Raiders play in the ACT? No cases, completely free of COVID. Don't get what's going on there. But anyway, back to my point. It's going to be pretty difficult for GWS. They're having to play all their games in Victoria, I think anyway, and they won't have any home games, and they have 3 top 6 teams and 2 8-pointer games. It is definitely going to be a bit of a difficult path for GWS to make the 8. The case of Richmond, who surprisingly find themselves in 12th after losses to Gold Coast and Collingwood. Okay, for a team that won the premiership last year, that's not good enough. Anyway, one of the big positives is they do have a softer draw compared to a couple of their competitors. Once they get past Geelong, Brisbane and Freo at Optus, which is an 8-pointer game, they've got a pretty soft run in the last 3 rounds, playing both Hawthorn and North Melbourne at home, as well as GWS in presumably Victoria as well. That is the other 8-pointer game. So they've got 2 opportunities to hamper other competitors. Their biggest disadvantage is that they start 12th for round 18, and they only start on 28 points, which means, like Essendon, they're going to have to win another game just to get themselves back into contention. Also, their sub 100 percentage doesn't exactly help, but it is on 99. So it only takes 1 big win, and they will be back on track. But that said, the winning does need to start in the next 2 weeks. The case for St Kilda. Well, the positive with them is that they're on 32 points, which is higher than 3 of the clubs on this list. That's just about where the positives end. They have to play Port Adelaide and Sydney. Well, luckily they play them at Marvel Stadium. Unfortunately, they have to play Geelong at GMHBA Stadium, which is an almost certain loss, whilst they also have to play Fremantle and West Coast at Optus Stadium. Although I would say that they are probably favourites against the Eagles, given how bad they've been playing in the last few weeks. But either way, those 2 games are going to be the 8-pointers for St Kilda, whilst they also play Carlton, which if they're going to make finals, they should win. Now, another positive with St Kilda is that they come in with form, okay? They're probably coming in with the best form out of the 6 clubs, having held Richmond to just 2 goals, who are one of their competitors for the top 8, as well as thrashing Brisbane, as well as beating Collingwood pretty convincingly. Well, not pretty convincingly, but they beat Collingwood decently well as well. So yeah, St Kilda, they come in with form, they come in with 8 wins, but they do have some pretty hard and season-defining double matchups awaiting for them. Plus, they've also got a lot of catching up to do with their percentage. The case for the Eagles, who come in with some extremely shocking form. One of the positives with the Eagles is that they're on 32 points as well, and the fact that they've, out of the 6, probably got the most talent on their list. Boasting a midfield with Shuey, Kelly, Yo, Redden, the list goes on. But they're really not playing up to their status, let's face it. Now, they've got 3 weeks to steady the ship by playing Adelaide, St Kilda and Collingwood. Adelaide and Collingwood, I know Collingwood's improved, but Adelaide and Collingwood, realistically, the Eagles should win, and St Kilda at home is a very valuable 8-pointer. But given the Eagles' form, yeah, it's hard to see the Eagles winning any of those games, because after that, they have to play Melbourne, Freo, which is an 8-pointer, and Brisbane. And the Melbourne-Brisbane games, they're going to lose. Easy, okay? So, they've got 3 weeks to steady the ship, but if they can't steady it within 3 weeks, they're in a lot of trouble. Let's put it that way. Also, their percentage is not looking that flash either. So, who are my 2 picks to finish 7th and 8th? I reckon it's Essendon and St Kilda. Essendon, well, they've been pretty respectable, and they've got some pretty easy games up against Collingwood, Gold Coast, North Melbourne, as well as probably expected wins against GWS, and they could even beat Sydney on their day if they show up. So I reckon Essendon, with an easy-ish fixture, can get the 11-12 games ready to make finals. St Kilda, that eighth win is crucial for them in their hunt for the finals, and they come in with great form, having held Richmond to just 2 goals and beating Brisbane as well. Even though they play some pretty hard teams, I still reckon they could beat Port Adelaide at Marvel. Port don't play well against the top teams, and I reckon Saints can upset them. As well as Sydney, I reckon that could be contested. And the other games, I think, and Eagles, they're not in great form, and I reckon Saints can go to Optus Stadium and shock them as well. So, I reckon the 2 teams making the finals are Essendon and St Kilda, despite the latter's poor percentage. So there you go. The case for each team ranked 7th to 12th. and their hunt to make finals. Hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe. Comment what you think of the video down below. And which of those 6 teams do you think will make the top 8? Check out some of my other videos. Check out my tipping video, which will come soon. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.